All right, Yusuf, just confirm you can share.
Okay, I'm gonna try. Disabled, still disabled.
Should be working right now.
Okay, I'll give it a 10 seconds, okay? Yeah, I can. Lovely. Okay, so let's do this. And can you see the screen?
Yes.
The presentation? Great. Let me do this, both that is showing the slideshow thing. So it's gonna be like this. Good? We're
Yes.
good? Great.
Uh-huh.
That's all. Good. We're back. Go ahead. Let me close there. Everything else I have open, so it doesn't go. And I'm with you guys. Good.
Okay.
So,
Good.
curiosity, how many people registered? 5, 10, 20, 30? What are we expecting? Just
We're expecting about 50 participants.
wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah. So as they join in,
Okay.
we at least have a good number that have started streaming in.
Okay.
So we'll give them
Sure,
some
sure.
few more minutes and then we
Sure,
can
no worries.
start. Yeah.
You know what?
Uh, yeah.
Well, well,
How is
Meshach, it's good. It's really nice finally meeting you, and I appreciate that from last time. Just I didn't mean to. I just wanted to get the technicalities out of the way, but it's finally nice meeting, and thank you for the quote. I'll mention it. You know, we have a relationship now for 4 or 5 years, so it's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, and Nandi, thank you for organizing this and inviting me. I appreciate it. Do you pronounce it Nandi or how do you pronounce it? Sorry,
which one? The
your name. How do you pronounce your name?
Nabangi
Nabangi, my apology. Nabangi.
or Sudi.
or
Say again?
Sudi? Yes.
Oh, Sudi. Oh, Sudi. That's
Sudi.
easy. That's easy. And Joram, do you pronounce it Joram or how do you
Yes,
pronounce your names?
Joram
Joram,
is
right?
fine. Yes,
Good.
Joram is fine.
Good, good. And by the way, I see some people say Kenya and some say Kenya. How do you guys say it? Is it Kenya?
It's Kenya.
Kenya. Okay. Kenya. Good. I need to know the local. This is important.
But if you have to say it with a swag, you can say Kenya. I mean, it's
Kenya. Kenya. Okay. All right. Good. That's all on my side. Go ahead. I'll let you talk now.
so as we wait for a few individuals to join, let me just, at this particular juncture, welcome everybody who's joined us. To all the participants, if anyone of us can hear us clearly, you can raise your hand just to ensure that we are getting very well. Great. Thank you very much, Patrick, Diana. Thank you, Sophie. It's good to know. Alfred, thank you. Thank you, Mabruka. Asante sana, Allen. Thank you. So as we wait for the rest to join us, we can maybe give them about 2 minutes and then we start. And we'll, at that point in time, just ask Meshach maybe in the next 2 minutes strictly. We can start off and you can introduce our guest for today. Very well. How is the weather, Yusuf, in London? It's very cold here. Well, we have gotten into our cold season. I don't know
Okay.
how London is.
Actually, I'm in Washington, D.C. in the United States,
Yes.
and it's cloudy here today also. It's kind of cold. It should be summer, but it seems 60s and 70s. It's cloudy outside my window, and it's a cold day. Yeah.
Right. Good.
Nice.
How is the situation for COVID, coronavirus? How is it?
It's really tragic and unfortunate. I think we're the largest on the planet with the most amount of cases, and it's really depressing. And I hope everyone is safe. And we're going to discuss it. Actually, I'll start the presentation with it. So we're going to get into COVID. It's all COVID related today. Yeah. So
Right.
it's sad, but we have to make some good business decisions. So
Okay.
that's all I can say.
Very good.
This is good. I've seen the other sessions and I was really impressed by all of them. So I hope my presentation is good. I'm hoping it will be great. So
It
we'll
should
see.
be one of the things I think is because it's very current. I mean, very
Yeah.
many organizations or other leaders are really trying to grapple with what next in terms of tuning into the new normal or transformation is happening at a very higher pace because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
Organizations may have had a very good plan on how to transform digitally, but now COVID is here and just forced them to almost, what do you call it, to almost speed up the process of transformation. And now it's
Absolutely.
dealing with the speed, with that particular reaction they've had. So how do they actually handle these going forward? So I think it's very timely and it's going to be exciting. And from what I've seen you give in terms of the passion and experience you have for boardroom development and especially when it comes to technology, I think it's certainly going to be an exciting session today. I'm just hoping that we have very many more directors joining in to really appreciate and learn at the end of
I
it.
hope. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think it's a current topic, and the COVID has realized us, what's going on.
Yes. Yeah.
What in digital is, absolutely.
So how's the Global Board Advisors Corporation doing?
We're doing actually very good. We're in a lot of countries throughout all the continents, more than 15 countries, 34, depending how you count it, meaning like chairman and CEO. You'll see actually some of the clients and subscribers that I have, they're all basically Dow 30, Fortune 500, DAX, German, European, FTSE 100, DAX 30, some of my subscribers and the board and chairmen that I have the honor and privilege to work with. I'll show you two of them later in the end of it in the presentation as a surprise. You know, on my YouTube channel, you'll see their interviews. It's kind of interesting. So we're doing good. We were always virtual, and Meshach will tell you that. It's nice now that the board with digital, we can talk and the distances have been removed. I think that's the best way to put it, right?
Yeah.
You can talk to anyone on the planet now, and everyone's open to talk also.
Yeah. Have you made any footprints in Africa? Do you have any of your...
You guys, South Africa, Nigeria, and a bit in Egypt, but not much. But yeah, these are the 3-4 countries that I'm in Africa. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Great market.
Meshach, if you can hear us.
Yes, James, I can hear you. I can hear you very well.
Okay, very well. I think maybe just I can mention a few housekeeping rules and then you can introduce. So to our participants who've joined us, thank you very much for making time to be with us today. Good afternoon to those who are with us here in the country, in Kenya. Good evening to those who are outside jurisdiction and in a different time zone, and also good morning, those who might be waking up to this particular session. We still may have a few people joining us, but we'll let them join as we start. I think we should be ready to go, but before that, just to appreciate a few housekeeping rules, and that is that we are allowed and very much encouraged to use our chat facility on our Zoom. And if at all we really need to speak, some of us may really find it very easy to speak. I would encourage and hope that we can raise our hands, and then during the question and answer session, we can have an interaction and a discussion and an engagement. So let it be a social interactive session at the end of the day. So for those who feel they can type their questions in between as we proceed with the particular conversation we're having today, please feel free to use your chat facility. Feel free to use the Q&A section. And then for those who really want to speak kindly, just raise your hand and I should be able to see on the particular participants panel and allow you to speak. So let's just be active and attentive. So at the point in time when we have to call on you to speak because you have shown the interest to actually address certain issues, we are able to basically work around that smoothly. So thank you very much. And at this juncture, Meshach, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, James. Good afternoon to our participants from Kenya. Good morning and good evening to the rest of the participants from different parts of the world. It gives me great pleasure to invite us and welcome us again to yet another session of the Intelligent Boardroom series that we've been running for the last 3 to 4 weeks. It is my pleasure this afternoon here in Kenya for me to introduce our guest speaker for today, Mr. Yusuf Azizullah. Let me mention that I have interacted with Yusuf online for quite a while. At some point in time, we had shared a number of articles with Yusuf, and therefore today it's a great pleasure for us to have him with us for this particular presentation. Yusuf is the CEO and founder of the Global Board Advisors Corporation, an influential corporate governance advisory firm. His YouTube channel brings boardroom strategy insights from leading international brands, and his expertise include digital transition, cyber governance, creating business models, utilizing artificial intelligence, and dispute disruptive technologies. Yusuf has served as head of IT and SOX compliance officer for AstraZeneca's MedImmune division, and as chairman of the board of 2 NGOs in the USA with global footprints, the One Less Foundation and Building Community Bridges. Those are NGOs that are based in the US. And through that experience, his thought leadership has featured actually globally, especially through the CNBC Squawk Box, the World Economic Forum, and the Institute of Directors across 4 continents. Those of you who are here before, you've had Yusuf mentioning that he also has footprints in Africa as well, South Africa and Nigeria in particular. Yusuf is a US National Association of Corporate Directors Board Leadership accredited trainer, a fellow of the governance group in the US, and his qualifications includes executive education from Harvard Business School for audit committees. He has an MBA in management and also Master of Science in Management Information Systems. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our speaker for today, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you, Yusuf, to please proceed with your presentation. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here. Thank you, Meshach. Thank you, Asudi. It really, James, a pleasure to be here invited. As you said before, we have a relationship for a couple of years, 2016. So it's coming back to family and friends. So I really feel good for an opportunity to share some of the boardroom expertise and what I'm seeing throughout the planet. So let's begin with it. So let me know when you can see this, everybody. Good. Good. We'll move it here. Good. As long as you guys can see. Good. Can see it? Great. So good. So, one thing with COVID is the digital has become very important, and we've realized that in the couple of months of lockdown. What I want my audience to think about, instead of digital transformation, think of it as a digital competitive advantage. How can we realize digital competitive advantage? Let me walk you through what we're going to be discussing here today. Basically, we're going to look at a global pandemic, how it's affecting not only the United States or the planet, but also we'll look at Kenya. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong. So, and why it matters. Why should board members really care about digital transformation? This is a basic. We'll answer who, what, why, where, why is this important to me again? And supply chains disruption, how it's affecting supply chains globally. Then what is the board's role as executive directors, as executive boardroom, executive management? What is their role in digital strategy? We'll look at as, board members, we look at things from a corporate governance perspective. Our view is different than management's view. So we'll look at as how digital transformation is really important from a corporate governance perspective. We'll talk about culture and communication that is important throughout the transformation to realize competitive advantage. We'll talk about artificial intelligence. We'll talk about global artificial intelligence advocacy that I've done throughout the planet, and I'll share some of insights. I'll share some of my friends and subscribers and some of the board members I work with, and then I'll leave you to question and answers. So I wanted as wanted an interactive session. So if you have questions, please pass it to the moderator, and I'll definitely try to answer them throughout the session and at the end of the day. Okay, So why it matters? This is the most important thing. Every company is being impacted by 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 the COVID crisis, the coronavirus, and this is a really making boards realize that this is something that is really affecting right now. What I'm hearing from my, not only the United States board members, but from my members, my friends, and the work colleagues, board members I work with on FTSE 100, in the UK, DAX 30, German boards, some of the European DAX listed, CACI, some of the French boards, in Belgium, I realized that, and all throughout the planet, cash is tight right now. People are not spending and companies are not spending cash. Credit is tight, cash is tight. And if looking at from just from the continent of Africa, the expectations are, and this is in April study, that the GDP for Africa as a overall is somewhere between going to drop between 22 billion to about 88, 89 billion. And that's an April study. Now, when the May data and June data comes, right now you look around you, how many companies are really out there and are actually working at full service? Hardly any. Most of them have diminished services, less people working, less people going to the office. Office is hardly there. Everybody moved to the suddenly digital crisis. Now, going back to where, Kenya, East Africa, Rwanda, these beautiful the economies of Africa that are growing like, unbelievable numbers. Unfortunately, not only COVID, but a double whammy of locust infestation. So that is also affecting it. And then, from the African Development Bank, Kenya took a 188 million euro loan. The Kenyan government has been really fast in responding. I hope you can see this in the screen. Doing just last week, removing tax exemptions, and that does include oil and gas, just for the audience. Now, these tax exemptions are going to be about 5.3 billion or 6% of the GDP of Kenya. So this is interesting. And how much is that going to affect your board? How much is that going to affect your business and company is really something to think about as board members. Moving on, the expectation is right now from the high growth of 5.4, it's going to drop to 2.5 for Kenyans. And this is pre-pandemic forecast, before it was 5.4, now it's going to be 2.5. Globally, and it's not just Kenya, just throughout the planet, this is an IMF International Monetary Fund study back in April. Of the 189 members, they believe about 170 of them will realize a negative per capita income growth. This is going to affect a lot of businesses and everybody on the planet. And just in April, 100 billion US dollars have been outflowing from emerging markets. The emerging markets are sort of the growth engine of the planet, right? And if 100 billion is coming out of them, that's a sign that people spending is going to even become less and less and less. Now, moving on to supply chain disruption. Now, let me pause a bit. Before even the pandemic started, where it was just in China, and at that time, China GDP has been about on the right side of the screen, about 21.5, 22% of the world GDP, the global GDP. And as China started early in January, February, March, when they had the lockdown in Wuhan, there was an expectation study. I did this back in a March video. So for some of my board members, you can see it on my YouTube channel. And there was expectation about 1 trillion would be output going out of China just of the losses back in April. Now, then as the pandemic moved globally across, Asia, Europe, North America, Africa, and as it gone, and South America, pretty much, and Australia, involved the whole world, it has gone down. Look around yourself, your company. How much factories have been shut down? How much parts and components you're not able to get because of China and other places, delayed shipments throughout the supply chain. And this is causing not only with your customers and your suppliers, but it's really affecting your reputation as an overall and your bottom line. Now, just comparing ourselves with our neighbors for Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, I think Kenya's approach, the government has taken a better approach. Uganda government will rely basically external financing to weather the crisis, and Tanzania, it's opposite directions, has sought for debt from the G20 nations. this makes you think, I think maybe the tax exemption approach that I discussed just about 2 slides ago might be a better exemption, better approach, comparing with your benchmarking with your neighbors. Just food for thought. This is how it's playing out right now as we sit in June, and we still have half the year left. So think about your bottom line, not only for this quarter, for the next quarter, and overall for 2020. It's going to be negative and red for everybody. So what can we do? So here's where digital comes in. Some of the things that, you can see that on the screen, but before I get to this, I want to talk about a couple of things. Things that I'm seeing with board members, everybody has realized a couple of things. First, as the lockdowns began to occur, everybody started was in a panic mode. How can we get employees to be safe? Of course. How can we keep our business running? How can we meet payroll? How can we meet, our deadlines with our customers? Can you ship product? Kenya with coffee and such an agriculture economy, it affects. If farmers cannot come out, supply chains the food and product cannot move. It brings it to standstill. It's not only the safety of employees, but throughout the whole country. I mean, and at that time, I think the innovation of Africa, where Kenya, the Silicon Valley of Sahara, companies, tech entrepreneurs, and some of your audience right now, these board members that are from fintech companies and these companies that are very digital, immediately had an advantage, or not only your other countries and other neighbors, but it's just a reality. Companies that immediately went digital, they could have employees work from home, and their office spaces are now empty and these are some of the things I'm hearing, and I want to discuss this also just for food for thought. It's a lot of companies are thinking, do we really need this office space? Because our employees have been so productive, throughout this pandemic. So and I'll take a pause here. Let me drink a little sip of water while you look at this, and then we'll get directly into the topic of the day. So I think, as I said earlier, digital transformation should be looked at as a digital competitive advantage. How can we realize competitive advantage through transformation? What is transformation? Digital transformation? It's basically using technology, any technology, and disruptive technology, especially emerging technologies that solve business problems. And the board at the highest level, the board of directors, the executive, the non-executive directors, they set the strategy from the governance lens. How can we transform this organization into an advantage for us? And especially during COVID, companies that were not digital, were not fast to make themselves virtual and get on the digital bandwagon, are soon going to be dying, if not dead already. Have filed bankruptcy, and in the next 6 months to 18 months, 18 is such a long term for them, but I think they won't survive the end of the year. You will see competitors and companies in the industry and throughout the environment just fade off. They cannot keep up with the world because of COVID has changed the business, and now we have new business problems to solve. So here, looking at the next slide, the first rule the board members and the chairman needs to do is really set the strategy goal. Have a candid discussion and figure out with your CEO, what is the goal we want to set? Do we want to, here's an example I said. Do we want to earn 60% of our revenue? Or it could be 20%, move up to all the way to 50, 60, and maybe 100. I doubt 100 because if you're an agriculture economy or something, but you want to put heavy reliance on the digital part, technologies helping you earn by a certain date, maybe 2025. In this environment, I don't know, 10-year planning seems not appropriate is the best word I would say. Ridiculous is not the word, but do you want to plan 5-10 years? Have a goal for yourself. Can we earn 60% of our revenue by digital technologies? What business problem are we trying to solve? Are we trying to grow market share? Are we trying to increase revenue? Are we trying to cut cost because of COVID? Are we trying to expand our margins? Build up, we don't want to gain market share. These are some of the questions, how the conversation and the strategy planning for digital transformation, digital competitive advantage begins. And any organization, maybe it be a small one or a medium size or a large enterprise multinational corporation, at the board level. Then think about it, digital, can we impact our stakeholders digitally? I mean, look at it. I'm sitting in the United States, you're sitting in Africa, and we have audience throughout the planet here. It's brought borders, the borders that are closed because we cannot travel and so forth. Now, because of digital, some distances have been changed, A lot of companies that I'm seeing here in the United States, pretty much everyone has done a virtual annual meeting. We have we have requirements as board members, fiduciary responsibilities on an annual basis that we have to meet our shareholders, right? And most of the companies have done a virtual annual meeting, They used Zoom and other technologies, Teams or whichever the platform they used. It's irrelevant. They use digital means to get in front of their stakeholders, to engage them and listen to them, and really change now their way of going forward. Something note that I noticed, and everybody, you should be, looking, people's behavior of your customers has changed throughout these lockdowns. People are buying more online shopping. Because of the lockdowns, you really can't go out unless you, based on your, maybe certain times, and not everything is available to you. So in the United States here, pretty much grocery shopping to any type of shopping has pretty much gone digital because of safety, of health concerns, not only of yourself, your family, your employees, but the larger community. So something to take a pause as we decide to do a digital transformation in the COVID crisis, in the new world. Something to pay attention. I want to spend some time here, the changing customer behaviors. It was always changing because of digital, 5G, Internet of Technologies is coming, the technologies, and some of you might be familiar with these things, everybody's using their mobile, but the speeds of the data that's going to be coming to you on your mobile, your cell phone, is going to be so much faster. And the applications and the kind of environment that you will be able to access for yourself is going to be phenomenal. It was already changing before COVID, but now it's been expedited. The people, some of the major companies that I'm talking about, the large enterprises, they've already met their 2020, 2021, 2022 digital goals they had prescribed for themselves already in the last 2-3 months, because all the crisis, all the energy and the budget moved from other resources to the digital, the IT department, and on innovation and trying to keep business running. Some of the great things that we're seeing, that I'm hearing and I'm seeing and realizing, is that employees were really productive. There was a concern that will employees, if we ever go remote, if I can work from home, try to balance love, life and family, and I work from home. Something we're realizing is, especially in the United States, is that employees are really productive. They take their responsibility very seriously. They know they have to, they love their companies they work for, and they want to provide more productivity. So I want to put this in my friends, the board members here, that, productivity has increased. So, changing consumer behaviors, your supply chains have changed. They're not shipping product as they used to, but they're still shipping products. They're trying to work around new routes, from countries that the borders are maybe not be closed. And then most of the countries are allowing special critical, medical and life important urgent matters to still flow through their borders, right? This is just part of within United States and Canada, that's something happening. And then we also, as we decide to redesign your digital strategy, think of your shareholders. Because it's our fiduciary responsibility as board members to our shareholders. They are the owners of the corporation, right? How do they want to engage us now? Proxy voting, that was always, in developed markets, it was always digital. And most of the countries pretty much have gone digital. They still mail you for the sake of mailing you paperback, voting. But your shareholders are very comfortable, and especially institutional funds, your buy side, they're very comfortable getting digital correspondence. Your regulators, the ones you have to file quarterly, annually, they're very comfortable getting, reports for you from a digital perspective. They don't want hard copies mailed to them, and with this social, environmentally social governance, ESG, killing trees is not the most friendly thing. And it's to look down upon, not only in the United States, but across the planet. People really care about green. They want to keep in the environment friendly. And as we come out of this COVID, hopefully soon, as a personal prayer and as a personal wish, life has changed, and the new normal is going to require some new way of thinking, new way of digital transformation. So here's a good question as a board members, because where do you start? Well, you start with your CEO and your senior management. Ask them a simple question here, what I have here, and I can mail these slides to anybody, and the moderator can send these slides to anybody if anybody's interested, to get more information. Ask your CEO and your senior management, what digital trends are we using and seeing in the market for gaining competitive advantage right now? With the lockdown, what technologies are really competitors and people using, companies using to gain competitive advantage? Ask them a simple question, this question: what digital trends are we using to gain competitive advantage right now in our market? Realize where you are, and then we can plan it where you want to be, the future state, the vision, the nirvana, as they call it, But here, I think the biggest responsibility for any board member across the planet that I've seen, and it's realized as I do, is hiring the right CEO, especially during COVID. You need somebody who has turnaround expertise, who has some expertise to deal with crisis and disasters. Disasters don't happen every day. Crises don't happen every day, thank God for that. But this is a crisis mode for every company. So your CEO, if he's digital savvy, and digital savvy can mean lots of things. Digital savvy does not mean that he understands the technology, but really understands how these technologies will play forward, taking your company to a new level. That's the best way to think of it. So hiring the right CEO, hiring the right IT senior executives, you need seasoned, trained IT executives. And if that means hiring within your borders or outside, I'll give you an example. Well, everybody uses Facebook. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO, just about 3 weeks ago, and I shared his live conference on my social media. Also, he said, before they're in Silicon Valley headquartered in California, but they said, think of the good things we're realizing with COVID is talent. We can get talent, and they have opened their applications within the United States and Canada right now. So they're hiring not only just Silicon Valley, what used to be before, but across the country in the United States, but also to Canada, developed markets. And I think as time develops, and even, Kenya has a very interesting, with a tech-savvy crowd and tech-savvy entrepreneurs, I think the talent is going to be a war very soon, if it's already not happening, because borders, you can still work at home. You don't need to come to us. So we just need to realize your jurisdiction for paying your taxes, and you can work from home, but we want you to come work for our organization. This is really driving the talent hunger right now. So be prepared for acquiring people from across, not only within your local community, but extended borders within the city, maybe the north and the south and the east and the west, look beyond. So just to think, food for thought, hire the right CEO, hire the right IT executives, then hire a chief information security officer. That's what CISO stand for. Your head of your security, your cyber governance, because as board members, one of our fiduciary responsibility, and something that the board members get unfortunately litigated a lot, sued a lot, is keeping cybersecurity, data governance, your enterprise free from getting any cyber disasters and getting you don't want to be on the newspaper for you were breached and your systems were breached and your data of confidential of your customers, your employees, and your confidential information was stolen by hackers and sold on the dark internet, dark web. So hiring the right CEO, hiring the right IT senior executives, hiring a right senior chief information security officer that is going to look and govern and create a team, if you are a small organization or a large enterprise, that are going to bring networks from their people, high great security, cybersecurity, and privacy teams. Because look at Kenya. You do a lot of business with Europe, European Union, and EU GDPR, European Union data governance for privacy laws. It's a requirement that you have to keep their citizens' information private. So some of the things you need to really start from the base, get great talented people. I mean, I can't emphasize on that. Here. And then some mistakes people do is, okay, let's start it, we'll just do it one place. No, if you're going to do the investment, you have to do it enterprise-wide, thrown at the top. The board has to support the strategy, then align the leadership that we discussed behind it, and then do it across the enterprise, transform the whole enterprise one time, not, oh, we'll do one segment or one area or one geography. No, do it across the board. Everybody gets the new digital. You don't want to be paper-based anymore. Especially, I've heard horror stories, and I'll share some of them with you. There were some organizations, they couldn't run payroll. They couldn't get to their suppliers because the customer invoices were locked up in the offices and paperback legacy systems, and they didn't have anything digital information. And with the lockdown occurred, people didn't have a chance to go to the office, and some companies couldn't run payroll. So those companies are gone, and they will continue to die off with COVID crisis. So do it across the enterprise, and then stakeholders, communicate with stakeholders internally and externally. I can emphasize how much communication is important, because your culture will change. Employees will get scared. Oh my God, digital is coming. My skills are not up to date. I don't know about the cloud. I don't know about these new technologies. My job is going to be in crisis. No. Retrain them, and I'll talk about these slides coming later on, but re-educate your stakeholders internally, your employees, your customers, your extended environment, your suppliers. Talk to them that we're doing the digital transformation, collaborate with them. See if you can pick up some ideas. See if you can work on their platform. It will save you a lot of hard won, a lot of money, keep the cost down. These are some of the things that are, when I work in boardrooms and I work with board of directors and CEOs, and I give them advice and I work along with them, and this is how I do it myself. So these are some of the things that will help you save a lot of money to keep the cost down. Next comes is now that you've decided on this digital transformation, this competitive advantage, here's a couple of the major fundamental questions you need to ask. How much do you want to offshore? How much do you want to keep in-house, meaning keeping within the company, stays regardless right now. For the next maybe 5 years down the road, yes, but at the moment with this transformation, how much do you want to outsource to the cloud? 100%, 30%? Offshoring within your local, Kenya, maybe to to Tanzania or Uganda, other places, maybe to India, Emirates, and these are some of the countries that you do a lot of business with, the European Union. So you have to think about it. Even in Europe, there's Eastern Europe. They're really digital savvy. And that's some of the things. There's other countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh in Asia that are really tech savvy countries, sorry. And they have a lot of hubs. Maybe think of those things, where you can cut down cost and keep getting new IT talent that's not so expensive as India and China. So maybe how much do you want to keep in-house? These are fundamental questions you have to decide as the board members with the CEO and leadership. Ask them to present scenarios for you as a committee, and the whole boardroom discusses it and comes to some decisions, fundamental decisions that stakes, in the ground, and then your strategy will change. Everybody's journey is going to be different, and these are some of the thoughts. What else? Here's some of my advice, starting from the left side of the screen and going, focus on these areas. The most successful companies, Accenture, this is how Accenture, there is a major consulting company across the planet. They advise, I'm not promoting any company, but this is their journey. So some of the things they share and some of the things I notice in boardrooms that I go, they focus on interactive. Try to make it interactive. Focus on technologies that are going to help you engage your customers, your suppliers, your social media. Those are going to make you interactive. Your brand, your platform, your product, your services, more interactive for your audience. Run lots of analytics. Be a data-centric organization. Analytics. Give me matrix on this. There are going to be matrix at the board level, but they're going to be matrix internally, departmental level, organizational level, geographical level. Get those. Become that. Empower your organization to break the silos and look across functions. That's a very empowering thing when you get those kind of data at the board level. Mobility, focus on mobility, M-Pesa, do I need to sell you that? That's your country. Now you guys have transformed, and that's put you with Safaricom, bringing it on the planet, that's how, so mobility, I love this picture, so I put it there. With respect and, mobility, education, but people are doing business on their cell phones, cloud, focus on cloud. And I'll discuss about, and security, of course. At the board level, governance is at the security level, keeping the consumer data, your customer data, your employee data, your supply data secure, and it is supposed to be without the access of the anybody who doesn't need to see it. That's the best way to put it. Okay, take a break at that, and let's move a little ahead. What else do we need to do? Where's my next slide? Okay, yes. Here are the technologies that you need to, the CEO needs to navigate. Okay, now that the board, you've given them direction, you've given them the strategy, but now it's the operational part. You as a board member need to see your CEO running the horse and decide with management. Some of these are technologies. This is not the entire list, but this will give you a good idea. Some of the things that the major organizations that have done digital transformation, what they're focusing. Artificial intelligence, that's some of my best, my areas of expertise to do business models in artificial intelligence. And I'll get to it in the next couple of slides. Blockchain. It's a journal ledger for doing transactions, or the best way to think of technology that lets you do transactions, secure transactions. Robotics, agriculture technologies. Kenya is a big agriculture economy, coffee. So technologies that are disrupting, helping the farmers sell their product much more easy. The technologies in the United States, in India, and other places, focus on those technologies that help you get that information. The Internet of Things, 3D printing things within a printer. There are places they're trying to print houses and so forth. You'd be amazed at things they're printing right now. Medical innovations with COVID crisis, medical technology and medical innovations in healthcare. A lot of companies are getting into healthcare, Microsoft being one of them, telemedicine, able to see doctors in rural communities, in places people don't want to get out of their house, and so see people engage, in an environment that you can see a doctor, a healthcare professional on a virtual cell phone and so forth. Telemedicine, medical innovations that are going to be coming out of it. Virtual reality. Yes, that's a virtual reality on his head on the left side. I love this picture. And I put it up. Yeah, so don't expect that it's just occurring in urban areas or people that you least expect. So the world around us is transforming every day. And now with digital, the consumers are changing. And that's some of the thing also, your CEO needs to navigate and tell you, and you need to confirm as a board member if this is the right areas we need to focus on. He needs to figure out which technologies to really invest in. You can't invest in everything. Money is tight. Remember in the beginning slide, cash is tight, credit is tight. So you have to pick and choose and be very strategic about this. All right, so exactly as I said, be thoughtful, be selective in the technologies you're trying to apply. Which of the technologies in the earlier slide help you meet your strategic goals much easier? Your vision. Remember, every company has a vision. Every enterprise, every organization, profit, non-profit has a vision. What's the purpose of the organization? Which technologies help you meet your mission and vision and strategic goals easier, cost-effective way? Those are the technologies, and I think you're on the right track then. What else? Board needs regular progress and updates. I cannot emphasize this enough. You as board members have hired the right CEO. You've hired the right IT folks. Now they are your horses and they're running this large race in the COVID crisis. You need to get regular updates, great data. You need to get your technology, create a technology committee. Some of the large organizations and some of the things that I have shared over the years, and that's brought me in front of Microsoft, Google, Apple boards, and I'll show you some of the slides in the next coming slides. These board members are the largest tech on the planet, work with me, and I'm very humbled that they're board members. They're my subscribers, and a lot of things I see. Board members, these are my friends, and they've created a lot of great organizations, large organization, enterprise. They've created a technology committee at the board level. Board has the regular nomination and governance committee, the audit committee, and the regular, executive compensation, the compensation committee. But a lot of organizations are creating in the last 2-3 years globally technology committees at the board level. We need a technology committee. Here's something I've noticed, and I'm hearing and I'm seeing across board members. Before there was the precepts, and this is going to be surprising to some of the board members, is that before there was supposed to be one guy or one woman on the board that should be technology skilled enough that they could make decisions on behalf of the all board members for technology related investments. Now with COVID, some of the board members unfortunately couldn't get on social media, meaning on Zoom and virtual meetings, and they couldn't get, some of them cannot access documents virtually, cannot open files. Those board members are helping realize organizations that with time, we will need not only one person or two person, but we'll need a committee, technology committee. We will also need more people, more individuals at the board members. These seats are very precious. These board members that are very technology, understanding technology as an investment. And I'll leave it there as a thought. But with time, you will see the board members, that are not comfortable accessing, with the board portals, their technology documents or something like that. With time, they will transition out, and the new board members will come. It's not with age. It's just people that are more inclined to see technology as an investment where you can realize ROI in the company, that they should be sitting on that board seat. All right. Also, cloud transition, you need to get regular updates, quarterly updates, monthly updates. You do in your board meetings, quarterly meetings, you need to have cloud transition updates. Where are they? What's happening? Are we getting the policies and security policies and the compliance policies at the higher level? Because no matter which framework you're using, NIST or ISEO as a COSO or COBIT, and I have the privilege to work on the COSO framework and COBIT, but I actually had a chance to actually provide corporate governance, thought leadership on it. And all of them require the board level that you need to make sure certain policies are created within the organization. So you need to get regular updates on that. You also need to talk about company culture. I discussed it about a couple of minutes ago, but culture, your employees are going to be really not comfortable unless you bring everybody on board, keep them regularly updated, help them update their skills, because they'll be thinking that my job is going to be gone with the new cloud. And you want more supporters rather than resistance at the culture to be successful at the board level and the organization level. Some food for thought. Let me take another sip of water. All right. So here's something. As I said, artificial intelligence is my expertise. I've actually done certification. I work a lot with organizations on this career-wise, and also advise some of the board members on it, major institutions, and you'll see that in the next couple of slides of these people. Advocacy work I do globally. So artificial intelligence is going to disrupt every industry. I've said this for many years now, and I'll say it again. Here's some data on it. We as board members love data, statistics, and hardcore figures. So on the middle of the screen, you see 77.6 billion, this is global spending, is going to be covering our cognitive and artificial intelligence systems. Now, what is artificial intelligence? At a high level, just machines that you help, the systems and the computers that you have are able to make decisions like humans, not humans, like humans, some cognitive thinking themselves. make some automated decisions. We see a lot of chatbots when you go on a website and you click on it and you see a company immediately write, how can I help you? That's a chatbot. That's an automated system answering based on some parameters they've defined. Without going too much deep, because I want to keep this at a high level conversation, because I realize some of my audience, may not be familiar, and I respect that. And you can reach me later. But at a high level, I wanted to say this is not Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Roberts coming and shooting you up and killing you. No, artificial intelligence is making systems and computers relies in making some cognitive decisions without the help of humans. Best way to look at it. So it's going to be disrupting every industry. Here's some spending data on it across enterprises, large, small, something. The faster you get on this bandwagon, the faster you save years and decades and eons for yourself or your enterprise. It's going to be disrupting business models of 2030. That was the conversation that I was a couple of years ago used to say 2030. Now with COVID, I think I need to revise this myself from 2030. I think right now it's already occurring across industries. Look across our competitors, you will be seeing they're using artificial intelligence in their company. They may not be using it, 100%, nobody's using it 100%, but 30, 60%, 10%, I don't know. You have to look at your industry and benchmark it with competitors, but you want to be the leader in the industry, not the follower. And here's a new revenue streams. It's going to create new ways to realize revenue in the organization. When you look at data across organizations, when you help do things within the organization. Now, this is going to be straight candidly put, it's going to take away, if you're in manufacturing, it is going to take away some jobs, robotics and so forth. It's going to take away some jobs, artificial intelligence. But some jobs are going to be always there. Human skills, social skills, thinking skills. Computers have not come to thinking. They're coming there, but it's going to take some time, but we need, it's going to be creating opportunities for you to create new revenue streams, new products, new services of your organization. Consumer, clients, how you engage consumers, your clients, your stakeholders. These are some of the ways that it's going to create for artificial intelligence knowledge. Unfortunately and fortunately, matrix on ethics and privacy and security. I cannot emphasize that board members, not only from regulators, not only from your customers, your consumers, your suppliers, they're going to be asking you data on governance and ethics and privacy and security. And artificial intelligence has a lot of drawbacks also in it, because people have prejudices. At a high level, I want to talk about AI ethics at a high level. Every person has some prejudices and some preconceived notions. Developers that do, artificial intelligence, write the code for it, they have some biases, and they may be somewhat discriminatory against certain ethnicities, certain genders, men, certain women, certain tribes or societies, certain people. They may look or act different than us. That's the best way to think about it at the board level. And we as board members need to be a company that is inclusive to all. That is what I'm seeing and working with major organizations, Microsoft, Google, Apple. I'll show you in the next couple of slides here. So here, chairman, be mindful. Here's a question. Disruption, innovation, all the Harvard studies and all the things that I see in my personal over 20 plus years experience is really, innovation comes from the middle management and bottom up. Innovation hardly comes from top down, from the board level going down. It comes from the bottom, the frontline workers. From the front line, they give great ideas, they pass it to middle management passes it to senior executives. So as a board member, if you are a savvy board member, the kind of board members I have an honor and privilege to work with, you need to educate your middle management and senior executives on artificial intelligence technologies for spurring innovation. Help them understand what artificial intelligence is. You don't need to figure it out. You will learn with time as a board member. You need to make sure your horse is the one that are running your races, the ones that are running your company. They know what artificial intelligence is, So that's something I want to put in your mind. And take a break here for a second as you absorb this. Okay, here's something I'm seeing across the planet with the board members, the Fortune 100, the Fortune 500, the Global 2000 across continents. As they're exploring, they're getting into artificial intelligence. There are few suppliers, by the way, and I did a research. This is from my March video, and I'm sharing this again because it's still timely, very timely. I wanted to talk about every company. On the one left side of the screen, you see Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet. The parent is Alphabet, the parent company is Google. IBM, Facebook, SAP, Samsung, Korea, German SAP, Tencent, and Alibaba. These are some of the leaders on the planet for artificial intelligence. Their platforms or technologies are there. The question was, I wanted to see, and I wanted to share with my audience, my board members, subscribers, and people, is, they all have good scholarly articles written on artificial intelligence for developers, for the IT guys that are going to write the code and help you transform your products and services. Everybody has a product, but are they really educating you? Are they really helping you solve business problems? We are board members. We are concerned with business. We're concerned about the money, the bottom line. I bring my financial expertise. I was actually a financial controller for one of the largest financial services company on the planet, Fannie Mae and JP Morgan. And I went from finance, I went to IT because I realized technology in my career. I'm sharing some, how I became who I am in my life. And I realized nothing could be done without technology. Having technology transform really great things for me. And I moved from finance to IT side, and then I went to IT compliance and governance, and then later to board members, audit committees, and that's how I moved up in my chain in my career in the 28 years. And I was head of internal audit for AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca is the fourth, fifth largest, how you count it, pharmaceutical company on the planet. It's one of the companies right now by the US government that's been given about there are four companies, they've been given about $2 billion to invest to get the COVID crisis over. They're going to be coming up with a vaccine. That's what they're saying. And it's one of them. AstraZeneca is in over 80 countries. We sell in pretty much every country on the planet. And I was the head of compliance and SOX governance and internal audit for Americas, Europe, and so forth. So my visibility to the board came, and that's how later my life came. And then I started doing boardroom education. Global Board Advisors Corporation, my organization, is really about thought leadership and corporate governance, and I bring board members on my YouTube channel. You can see throughout the planet, some SAP, the major brands, and I have them talk about what is important to the board. Anyway, slide you're seeing here is really talked about. I wanted to see how many of them really solve business problems and talk about cases. And here's my comments. Apple has a machine learning journal. Amazon has an artificial intelligence blog. Courses are talking partial, but the best one is Microsoft. And Microsoft is not paying me to say this. I actually done their training, and they really have. They worked with INSEAD. INSEAD is a top business school on the planet. And they've created an artificial intelligence business school. And I encourage a lot of you guys, everyone who's listening to me, audience, board members, CEOs, people are coming up the ranks. Look at it. There's the free courses, and with time they're going to be charging money for it. And I think they started already doing it. There are places where you can get great, business cases, how they solve business problems in transforming with digital, and Microsoft has done that, and you can download them for as complimentary and really learn and see. And I think these are the kind of things you should share at the board level, that you should share with your CEO and your senior executives. And so the question that I recommend is, think about, what organization as board members can we work with, a tech giant that we can collaborate with, or academia, university, or a company like me or me, that you can help train your board members on artificial. This is a 1-hour presentation, but we can spend a whole day. We used to do strategy retreats before COVID, but now we're virtual, so we're meeting good. So, you know, think about this as an hour discussion. How, if we look at your company, or, and, you know, IOD Kenya can look at your company and, you know, as a company for a whole day. And we talk about your business models. We talk about your revenue streams, your competitive analysis of your competitors at your industry, and help you transform, create a plan for you that you can take it to the next level. I think it starts with the basic thing is really training your board members and C-suite and employees on artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence business models. You know, that's my expertise over the years, and definitely bring that to the boardroom discussions. And that's some food for thought. Here's some of my subscriber, and this is Eric Schmidt. He is the CEO of Google previous and was a chairman recently till just in the last 12 months he got off. He's right now the chairman of NESCI. US NESCI is National Security Commission of Artificial Intelligence. That's the US government created Congress chartered division agency that is leading and deciding the plan strategy for artificial intelligence. GBAC had a great privilege of giving them advice. You know, I said something that what the conversation right now is going on, that the top universities that are without naming any universities, they should charge money for artificial intelligence. I believe artificial intelligence is a human right, and it should be free education to all individuals, not only in the United States, but globally, you know, and everybody, because it's the decisions that are going to be made by artificial intelligence is going to affect every consumer, every person, citizen, resident across the planet. You know, facial recognition, I cannot give examples enough, but and ethics is very important. And I had a chance and I said, you know, this is something we need to talk about. So we collaborated on this. This is next slide is Andrea Jung. This is she sits on Apple board member. She's a great friend, she sits on Unilever and Wayfair, and she used to be on before General Electric. I've always had the privilege of putting my videos. I started going videos back in 2016, 17, and I always share my videos on social media, and she liked my thing, and we get a privilege to meet also individually. So these are my subscribers, some of them. So just a FYI, I am really humbled and privileged to work with the people throughout the highest board members on the planet. I wouldn't call myself a board whisperer. I'm a board member myself, and I'm looking for myself new board positions. There's nothing to deny. I'm sorry. I'm looking actively for new board invitations. So something that that I can provide and contribute to the boardroom discussions. That would be an honor and privilege. So here's some thoughts. Here's I wanted to end my presentation with these three thoughts. Because I really want to focus on artificial intelligence, because I think this is the disruptor that is going to give third world countries, second world countries, and rising economies and developing countries a leg up advantage over developed countries. Right now, whichever country, and especially Kenya is one market that I definitely believe in, Bangladesh, and part of Pakistan, these countries, Pakistan, and there's some economies that can really curve up the digital, because of the digital advantage. These countries are going to be the developed countries of the next era. United States has already, I'm an American citizen, so I don't want to say anything against any government, but there are countries that believe in freedom and freedom of expression and, governance of the environment, and they're countries that could care less. But I think with artificial intelligence, this is a disruptor that will help elevate generations, families, countries in 1 generation, 2 generations, less than that, 1 generation, really above the income. Like Singapore example, artificial intelligence had that power and disruptor. The government of Kenya, I give them, they went on cloud. This is an interesting statistic for Kenya. The government is more on the cloud than public, than private enterprises. The government has really forced it, and that's a very friendly government. So I encourage them, without taking any political affiliations, but I like this move of moving to the cloud. It's a very smart move to move to the cloud faster. Anyway, the one you're seeing on the screen is Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. They are the lead organization. There are 37 member countries, but more than 100 countries look at them as their framework for corporate governance. As board members, they are the ones that decide the principles. I had the privilege of anyway, we'll move that for offline conversations. But long story short, principles of AI, they developed it for artificial intelligence back in 2019. In February, they came up the laws for back in February 2020, observatory, policy observatory. What that means is they came up with principles that are going to be practical guidance. We as board members decide certain things by principles. Like for COVID right now, we look at principles. When is it safe for employees to return back to work? Even when the lockdowns are removed, hopefully soon, but when the lockdowns are due, do you feel comfortable going yourself back in the office? How do we, and some principles are, anyway, I'll give you some advice. Principles is, can we do social distancing within the office building, that one employee is safe from another employee? So anyway, for artificial intelligence, these are the organization that's creating the principles, how artificial intelligence will develop. And the companies, I gave you a slide a couple back over, Apple, Samsung, and all that, they are following their principles as creating their policies and procedures. And job, skills, and health, transport, and trends and data. So this is, and they're going to help each country come up with their evolution of artificial intelligence. Every country, some America, China are the leaders right now on the planet for artificial intelligence, but there are a lot of upcomers. Russia is up there, and so forth. And more than I can. So I'm learning as you are. So as they came up in February, their principles for how artificial intelligence will be governed, so did European Union. And European Union has a paper out right now to get public opinion. I encourage people that are on your audience, they may not be board members, but they have a passion for corporate governance and they have a passion for doing the right thing. Look at those papers, and they're open to comments. So comment in your country, in your locality, and your company. In your company, I'll give some advice to people. Is I as a board member, I'm always looking for people that are uprising stars. How do you look at management that's coming up the chains? So participate in artificial intelligence, and this is where I end my thoughts for today. Thank you, IOD Kenya. Thank you, James. Thank you, Meshach. It is a privilege and an honor to share some of my boardroom expertise and knowledge with you. So I'm open for questions. If you want to reach me, my email is here. I wish everybody a great day, but I'm open. I'm here for questions, and anything I can help people, board members, answer. Feel free to ask. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yusuf. Very intriguing, actually, just to know and see where we are heading. I think at the end of the day, maybe Corona, like I mentioned, is the chief digital officer of this world. I mean, it's really expedited.
I like that. That's a good one.
It's really expedited the adoption of technology at all angles. And thank you very much for bringing and shedding some light on matters to do with digital competitive advantage, because I think most of the boards and directors and organizations really need to think through that. So for even accepting and heeding to the call to actually have your time to take us through this particular engagement and help us think with all the insights. And I believe most of the participants are very, very excited and just to get to learn and to know how things look out in terms of governance at this particular level. So a few questions have come in through from the participants. And I also want to ask all participants, in case you really want to speak out, just raise your hand. The platform, and I'll just allow you to talk. Some of us may want to just speak out on some of the issues that have been raised during the presentation that Yusuf has just shared with us. So please feel free. It is allowed. Kindly, if you can, let's just have that interaction. Let's have that, you commenting and giving your opinion on what is happening in your organizations also. Of course, there were a good number of expectations that were raised, and people were curious to know the global perspective on digital transformation during this crisis time, which Yusuf has actually alluded to in his own presentation. So thank you very much, Yusuf. And of course, also managing digital disruption caused by COVID-19. How can they manage? And that is one of the issues that came up. So allow me to ask a question here from two of our participants, and one of them is Patrick. And Patrick is actually joining us all the way from Uganda in Kampala. And he asks, are there legal hurdles when digital transformation occurs in the current company laws and reporting requirements, e.g. voting on virtual meetings, for instance? Are there any legal hurdles? Let me ask his second question so you can take both of them. He says, what are the regulators doing out there to close that particular gap? What are regulators doing out there to close that particular gap? So Yusuf, if you can take those two. Thank you.
Sure. These are good questions. They are, the best way to look at it is whenever you have regulations, and as a compliance officer, the places you operate in and the countries your customers, your suppliers are, those countries' laws by default apply to you. So what are the legal hurdles to question Uganda? Your data privacy laws, your cybersecurity laws, those will automatically apply. I don't know if that's the question you were answering, but to me, that's what I understood. If you can clarify, more, and I can give you that. But those privacy, consumer security laws automatically apply, because in this day and age, we expect, and any organization, small or large, to keep your data secure. We don't want eyes that don't need to see it internally in the organization, different departments, and outside the organization, your competitors, your, other people don't need to see your data. So that's basically one law that I can tell you. In European Union, what I discussed earlier in my slides, also GDPR, that's basically keeping the citizens' data of European Union private, confidential. You cannot use their social security. Social security means the government assigned number to each individual. Every person has a passport number. Every person has an ID number. Those kind of confidential, highly critical data needs to be kept private. So those are the first things that I would tell you as a board member. The second question, what are regulators doing to do that? I think it depends on the regulators, the countries. Sorry, let me put my phone on on mute. But the regulators are are looking across the planet, and COVID has exactly has made it an urgent crisis. If you want to do business with the other countries, you have to comply to their privacy laws and data privacy security laws. That's just part of the beginning. When you sign a contract, they want to make sure that you have a good computer security program, right talent staff that can figure out these kind of breaches, catch on those vulnerabilities and security weaknesses. That's the best way to look at it. What are the regulators really doing? It depends on the country. Some regulators are moving fast to make their laws more strict, that their information of the citizens is kept secure and private and not sold to marketers and so forth without their permission. But some are taking their time, and that's over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, you'll see much more laws come up on that throughout the planet. It's not just only Uganda going to be, but across the planet, especially after after COVID. Exactly, digital has been fast-tracked for pretty much companies, organizations, countries, because people want to do business, right, at the end of the day, and there are certain ways how you engage people. Right? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm hoping, Patrick, that was very satisfactory, but if there's anything we can clarify, you can please just let us know. The next question comes from Duncan, and he's asking, as companies are following to rationalize cost management in order to survive the pandemic impact, what is your advice to directors of boards that it may not be appropriate to let go of any IT staff at this particular point in time, seeing how critical technology is at this point in time and in the future? So that is one of the questions from Duncan. And can I ask the other one before, or you can take that?
I'll do let's do one question at a time. If it's related, you can see it. If it's not related, let me do one question at a time. But go ahead. Is it related or? Okay.
Well, it is related to IT strategy, but yeah, just take that one, then we can go to the next.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Duncan, for the question, and thank you to the previous person, Patrick, who asked the question. This is a very good strategy question. My advice would be two-part. I think employees don't want to leave, right? Because there's mass unemployment outside. So you have to look at also from employee. But if the money is thrown to the employee and talent goes away, remember I discussed this in a couple of slides before, talent is going to be open. Facebook has started, this tech, Silicon Valley companies have started it, and companies are going to realize, and people like me are passing the message, right? So there's a talent war already happening before pandemic, and now it's going to be exacerbated to the highlight. So the question is, should you let them go? I would hope you don't let any, employee that you can keep costs down to not let go, keep them, as much as you can retain them, of course, for two reasons. One, they've already have some knowledge also within the organization, right? When you hire a new person, and right now everything is virtual, you really can't train that much to the new employee. I'll give Facebook another example. Facebook is not hiring any new intern or a fresh graduate level person virtually. They're hiring experienced, talented people with experience. Having said that, let's take that as an example and as advice. If you let go of the person you're thinking of letting them go to keep because you want to cut the budget, and I understand cash is tight, credit is tight, as discussed that earlier, I think you're going to lose some in-house knowledge, right? And the time and energy to hire a new person and the amount of money you're going to invest, look at the benefit and cost analysis. Is it really worth letting this person go? Maybe swallow the pill another 6 months if you can, 3 months. But if you can't, then you have to let it go, because you have to survive your company, right? You have to keep, as a board member, we have to make sure that the company enterprise remains intact, right? And can come out of this crisis. So if you are forced to the end of it, you let them go, unfortunately, but make sure there's a good transition plan, and as much as knowledge they can pass to other employees, they pass it before they go. It's reality of the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Thank you. And then the other question Duncan asks, what is your take that during this moment when business priority or are prioritizing very much survival and minimizing investments, it may only be appropriate for directors of boards to review the information technology strategy after the pandemic in regards to learning as to whether legacy IT strategy was adequate enough? What is your take on that?
Okay. So legacy IT, I don't know, it depends on the organization, but overall, the word legacy should tell you that it's an old system. An old system that is paper-based or system, it works. I don't think it's going to be, but as we as board members should be thinking of the future. The people I work with and the people that are in my audience, I would hope you would think about the future vision. Let me repeat the question, because before I answered, the question was, James, correct me, is what do you think of legacy systems after the pandemic? Is that the question? James,
I can repeat. So what is your take that during this moment when businesses prioritize survival and minimize investment, it may only be appropriate for directors of boards to review the information technology strategy after the pandemic in regards to learning as whether legacy IT strategy was adequate enough?
It depends on the organization. That's the real answer. Because I don't, we need more information, how large the enterprise and so forth. These are some of the kind of expertise I and other tech people bring to the boardroom. But the way to look at it is, can you really plan a strategy in pandemic? Well, you can, as I said earlier in the day, you can plan a strategy for short-term basis. You can plan a strategy for 1 to 2 years, midterm, and then you can plan later on as we come out with the pandemic, 10 years. But you be in the right direction. Let's to focus it. Your North Star should be focusing in the right direction. If you're not looking at technologies, you're in the wrong direction. Those companies will be dead sooner or later. Those industries will be dead if they're not looking at technology as an enabler to gain competitive advantage. And can you do the planning in a pandemic time? Absolutely. I mean, you can't do planning for 10, 15 years right now because it's ridiculous. You don't know what's going to be happening. Nobody knows what's going to be happening. But you can plan 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And then does it, the cost benefit comes, is it worth doing the digital transformation right now, or do we wait it out? What makes you think that you will survive the pandemic? That's my question to you. If you survive the pandemic, then you can plan 10 years. But if you don't survive the pandemic, wasted, right? If you have to file bankruptcy and you close your chapter, right? Sorry, that's something I will say. You know, I'm sorry, maybe I'm being a little blunt, but you know, I see across the aisles, you know, companies are closing shop. Sorry, so that's something, and I'll leave it there. You know, I don't want to be rude, but sorry, you know, I'm a board member who always brings the gorilla topics in the boardroom. You know, I'm the one who, me and other members that I work across the aisle, we discuss candidly things. And as board members, we have to discuss candidly things. You know, we never sugarcoat it, so we can get different viewpoints and really come to a consensus and make a good decisions and an informed boardroom dialogue. You know, that's what GBAC does. We do a great dialogue in the boardrooms. You know, go ahead. Any other question?
Thank you, Yusuf. Another question from Alan. Which are the main good free paid online resources or courses for board members to get educated in tech?
Good. You know, I discussed about the one artificial intelligence in Microsoft. That's a good one. For board members, you know, you know, most organizations are pretty much fee-based, being blunt, but I bring my videos and all the stuff free, you know, and as you know, my channel, so you know, I'm going to be a little biased and say myself, you know, I can't think of a boardroom organization that doesn't charge money for fees and stuff like that. But there are a lot of organizations like the one I told you, they write a lot of good things. You know, follow me on social media, you know, look at some of my board members, reach me out an email and I'll share you, send you more free literature if you want. But you know, the way, my question to you is, are you talking about business model? Are you talking about cost reduction? I mean, there are a lot of online resources, you know, I can think of is Khan Academy, based out of US. They have free courses for every individual, not only board members, but every individual. You sign up. There are a lot of platforms that give free education, like Khan Academy, and I'll put them up there because they have free different topic. You just go sign up and you learn there. It's a non-profit that are providing this free education on different topics. And I like Khan Academy. He's one of my subscribers. You know, so I would recommend Khan Academy. Go look him up, and you can pretty much learn a lot about many topics. And if you're not, feel free to reach me, and I can send you information, whatever you wish. And follow, check my videos on YouTube. I cover a lot of topics since I went online.
Okay, thank you. I actually have shared the link to the INSEAD Business School Artificial Intelligence course. So maybe you can check that in the chat section. Another question from Alan is, Kenya is devolved. How can counties and county governors or governments leverage digital technology or other transformation, given devolution is still young? How can the counties and the county governors leverage digital transformation, given devolution is still young?
Here's a good one. You know, county governors or bureaucratic systems, you know, I think you have to make them realize, and you have to bring people that are on your bandwidth. You have to bring supporters on your side from the business side and have them have the business drive it's a cultural change, remember. So at the county or any organization, government level, maybe, you know, and is that in Kenya or is that outside? You know, depending. You know, Kenya is a very IT-friendly government. You know, they went on the cloud many years ago, and that has led Kenya into this high growth 5% pre-pandemic, you know, 6% annual growth rate. And the reason is because they went digital. I think you need to bring case studies to your stakeholders, share with them how digital impacts their life. But personally, what I believe, you know, when I am sitting at the board level and I'm looking at the CEO or I'm looking at the IT executives that really know how to run a company, I think you need to have people that know how to work across different cross functions. And you need to win those people over and have them become your spokesman when you want to bring change at the county or the government level, meaning because you're doing some change, right? Transformation. And digital is a huge, humongous, completely 360-degree change in your organization. So you need to make them realize this is where the world is, this is where the world is going. This is where the business is. This is where our competitors are, and this is where our competitors are going. Now, if people care more about growth versus, personal agendas, I'll leave it there, because politics, you change is a very transformation and scary for people. So you have to make them become your allies in growing change in any organization. Doesn't matter, it's government, bureaucratic, and then an extra layer. So you have to go, policies have to come from the top down, and an environment of change. And this is an environment of change. Spurs change faster, right? People change faster when change is occurring, and they either pick up themselves and adapt fast, which I bring the kind of conversation to the boardroom, or they're left behind, and nobody likes to be left behind. That's the truth of the matter. I can't have such conversations. That's my advice to you, with people in your world and your work. And I think you might hopefully be successful. And reach me if you feel like for more follow-up questions.
Great.
Hopefully later.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. I am not very sure whether we have any participants who have any burning issues that we can raise up. Kindly raise your hand. I would love to have some bit of comments from the participation. I know there is a very good friend, Sultan, who says he's very green on matters AI. He's a director, but very green. I don't know whether Sultan would love to speak. Sultan, maybe you can say hi if you don't mind, Sultan.
Hi, Sultan.
Sultan, can I allow you to talk, please, kindly?
I can see you, Sultan. I can't hear you, but I can see you.
Sultan, you can try and unmute if you... Hello, Sultan? All right, as Sultan tries to get on board, Sultan says he's quite green on matters AI, and of course, as early adopters, he mentions that he has a few questions. Maybe he's a late adopter in the marketing new product curve, so he just needs to understand. So I really wanted him to at least say something, but he's not. Hoping he's going to get Sultan.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, Sultan, we can hear you.
In the marketing new product introduction curve, there are those who are early adopters.
Yes.
And they just buy the new mobile phone, whether it is good or bad.
Yes.
There are those who wait until the end when the product is already everywhere. Yes. I'm among those 33% at that curve. But I've been following Mr. Yusuf's discussion. And I really appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question. Can you, James, repeat it, or Sultan, can you repeat the question?
Sultan,
my question.
Come closer to your microphone.
I'm very close to the microphone. Very close.
Oh, sorry. I think there must be a network. Okay, just say again.
Because my network is fine.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can Mr. Yusuf hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, and you can see me also.
I see a picture.
Yes. So my question was, I'm very familiar with artificial intelligence, and you can even see I misspelled it. I wrote it IA. It's AI.
Yes.
But I wanted to know that there are a few movies which talk about the artificial intelligence, whether Mr. Yusuf has been either not involved, but because he has advised so many people, including that gentleman, the chairman of the Artificial Intelligence Committee of America. Has he ever advised those movies or those high caliber, high end productions of artificial intelligence?
Professionally, yes, I had the privilege to work in artificial intelligence and helping companies design products and services for artificial intelligence. A lot of financial sector, basically banks, they're using a lot of artificial intelligence right now to create new products and services like the chatbot I told you. Those are across the organization. They're trying to find data analytics to create new products. And Kenya is a big financial services hub, you know. So these are the kind of disruptions that I bring to the board, you know, to the board table. And I'm seeing that, you know, and I've worked on it for many years. So I'm really humbled and privileged to work in disrupting technologies, you know, how to create business models and how to get them through the whole life cycle and get them implemented. Feel free to reach me if you have any questions or something.
Okay.
But if that was your question, yes, was that his question, right? Have I worked in artificial intelligence? Yes, I have.
The other question, if I can ask, is I think you mentioned something about it. There have been very many doubts, or rather concerns about AI in China. They say even in some other countries, like where it has been misused, it has gone to the extreme. It has encroached personal, individual, and the private space. But there are maybe 80 to 58% has been very good. What I know it is a new thing being introduced now, but in the next 20 years, it might be like the way we are using a mobile phone now. How are governments trying to make sure, and the human rights organization, to make sure that it will not encroach private personal space? I don't want to be in my bedroom sleeping, and because the AI is everywhere and they see me doing everything, or I'm in my boardroom having discussions, and AI can capture whatever I'm doing. So there will be no secrets, no confidentiality, no privacy. What precautions have been put in place or are being researched to be put in place to take care of this concern?
You know, I answered this question maybe, but I'll answer it again. It's the same. It's OECD, the one I showed you slide. All countries.
I saw the OECD, yes.
Right. They are following their principles for artificial intelligence ethics, human rights. You know, nobody should be left behind. Everybody should have an equal opportunity. Those kind of good things, you know. So governments are still in the pre-infancy stages. Even United States, the commissioner, this was my meeting with him about 4 months ago, and United States is in the infancy. Most countries are in the infancy of designing rules because nobody thought of governing this because it's such a new thing. And now that we're sort of understanding what's happening, people and governments and countries and companies and enterprises are trying to put their hand around it, and I put my hands around it because everybody. So whoever's leading it is the disruptor and is leading the conversation. And I'd rather be part of the conversation than be part left behind the conversation. You know, as a minority, as a person who feels my rights should be. God-given rights should be protected. So artificial intelligence is a disruptor. You know, given in the hands of a wrong or scrupulous government, it can be very infringing. So that's why countries are creating laws to keep it ethical, keep it principle-based. And that's the same thing. Board members, we need to, when, you know, you can't decide, you cannot shape the policy of the country, but you can definitely shape the policy of your company. So as board members, we need to be understanding and raise the right questions right now, as before, when it's in the infancy stage. What can we do that our technologies are being fair and not being, are being ethical and fair and are inclusive to the planet, you know, to our customers, to our suppliers, to our employees. Those are some of the questions and the discussions I think we should lead and be focusing on right now. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where it is, there's not a one list of questions like this. It's a series of conversations that we are as board members, we need to be having these. But this is the time to have it, not later, because then somebody already has made the decisions and you have not had any input into those conversations. I rather be in those conversations and leading the conversations. That's why I go GBAC, I'm transferring myself from a boardroom education to artificial intelligence advocacy. You saw my picture with Eric Schmidt, Safra Katz, she's an Oracle CEO, and I engage many countries and companies and across the planet on those kind of conversations. And my life is there and my journey is still beginning, and I don't know where I will be from now, 10 years from now. But we big good boardroom discussions, and these are some of the expertise I bring to any boardroom. So just
so finally, we have UN.
Yeah,
we have ITU.
Yeah.
So is there an international body which has picked this item and started creating these rules and standards and do's and don'ts? Or we are still in the, I know we are still in the early stages, but have we thought about like ITU, for example, the one which deals with communication? Is there something apart from Europeans and Americans? Is there something which is being put in place now to take care of the third world countries so that we can sit on one table and discuss these issues?
United Nations did develop their artificial intelligence principles. That was a year before, but it is based on OCED principles. So the parent would be OCD, and from there everybody takes their thing. Even Google created it. United States government is creating it from it. The agency, every government agency, every country on the planet has now created. There's a nice paper that was written just like in the last 12 months, and every country's on the curve of where they are in the maturity of artificial intelligence, the market, what they're doing, what are they doing for ethical principles. So every country, there's a nice paper, and I can send it to you if you want. Just send me an email, and that will give you every country. Now the question I want to leave you with, the food for thought, is maybe if it's not so developed, which is it isn't, not only in your country and your locality, in your company, but maybe you should be leading these conversations and maybe get into civic. I encourage people to think about providing comments to to their organizations, to their regulators on good governance. And the more people are aware of it, they can help make other people make more informed decisions. I think as board members, we rely on each other skills and discussions in the boardroom to as a cohesiveness to build upon each other. So if you are leading, you are interested in this conversation, Sultan, my advice to you is you learn, you pick it up, and you engage, and you lead those discussions in your company, and as it develops, you will be the one to the go-to guy person. That's my advice to you. Ms. Friendly Lewis.
Thank you very much indeed, Yusuf. I think Sudi should take this up, and in the next IOD conference of August.
Absolutely.
There was one last year. I think he should put the IA as one of the topics.
Absolutely. Invite me and I'd be love to talk on that. It's going to be virtual, right?
Yes, we'll have to do it. It's the new
maybe by that time it will be open. I don't know. It was in Intercon last year.
Absolutely. Yes. Good. That would be fun. Good. Any other questions? Any other questions?
There are no more questions at this particular juncture. I think we have managed to tackle a bit more of what the issues may have been, and I think the presentation may have actually covered most of the things that may have been in the mind of the directors. In case anything comes up, I've also shared with them your contacts. They should be able to email you and contact you in regards to any issues they may have. Yeah, unless there's any other engagement or any other questions or comments from the audience, I would love to also bring to the attention of everybody else the online masterclass that we'll be doing in the month of July on the strategy planning for the boardroom. is very key and I think very timely at this particular moment. And then, of course, just to mention as we close and as we also say, before I actually call Yusuf to give his parting shot, is just to also let all of us know about the next session that we're going to have later in July. Yusuf, we are having Dr. Hijaz joining us from the UK, of course, originally from Jordan, to talk to us about innovation in the boardroom as part of this particular session, transitioning. So this session is going to be different. It's going to be more of a snapshot session, not just a webinar, but also a bit of training on this regard. And of course, looking forward to also having Yusuf take us through some training programs in the course of the coming months. So I'm hoping, I believe it's been quite exciting for most of us, and thanks to all of us for being a part of this particular session, and to all participants. At this particular point, Yusuf, please, any parting shots as we close today's session?
Thank you for the opportunity to share some of my boardroom knowledge and expertise. Thank you for the great questions. Thank you for engagement. I love the opportunity to bring great boardroom discussions. My parting thought is, good prayers and wishes that this crisis is over. There's a vaccine discovered. As board members, we need to keep the eye on the ball. There's no vaccine right now. So this is COVID. Unfortunately goes. I don't want to end it on a somber note, but we have to keep the eye on the ball that COVID crisis continues, and lockdowns, and we have to make the best informed decisions for our enterprises, and our organizations and our shareholders and our stakeholders. And so, because that will be the test of time, right? So, and if I can contribute to any conversations, feel free to reach me, and feel free to reach, IOD and other people. We learn from each other. Everybody's learning this as we're going ahead. So thank you, and have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you, Yusuf. We would love to keep you close so that we can grow and journey together, and especially during these particular days that are coming ahead of us. So thank you so much for dedicating the time and for being there to share the knowledge, and hopefully we can all grow and from all our networks together. So thank you very much to all the participants once more. Feel free to take time to go through the survey question that is going to appear at the end of this particular webinar. We need to know that we are doing well with the surveys at the moment, and we are able to churn out more thought leadership sessions for all of us to learn and grow. So in Yusuf, in Swahili, we say asante sana, and so so you can respond and say karibu. Yeah.
Karibu. Karibu. I got to come to Kenya. I want to see this country. It is on my top list to come as soon as the travel opens up.
Yes. Okay.
I love the people. I love the friendliness. I love the innovation, and I want to be part of this economy. Absolutely, it's a growing market, and that's why I reached back in 2015-16 to you guys. So I'm glad the friendship has grown over the years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. I don't think I want to do my own survey. If it's about me, then I don't want to do it. But if it's about you guys and the technology, then I definitely would do the survey, because I don't want to do my own survey.
No, it's more for the participants, so it's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then, can I close the meeting? Okay.
Yes.
Then goodbye, everybody.
Yes. Goodbye,
Thank you,
Yusuf.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good. Have a good day.
Thank you to all the participants. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a very good evening, and enjoy the rest of this week. Thank you.